Hello and welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you are returning, and if you are returning, thank you after all this time. I know it's been a while since I did my last upload, but I just didn't feel like I needed to upload any videos at that time, and I felt like I needed to go within, and I've really enjoyed the time that I have had just tuning out, well, not tuning out, tuning in, really, and finding joy every day. You know, no matter what life throws at us, we have to find little moments of joy because, you know, that's what gets us through. And a good friend said to me, she said something to me that sparked something in me, and it was like it planted a seed. She said to me that, no, she got this from her grandmother, but she said, you can be so spiritually minded that you know earthly good. And I thought, wow, you know, that's how I was living my life. I was like, it was like I was stopping myself from living because I was too scared of, you know, not living spiritually. And that's not what it's about, is it? So I really had to check myself, you know, and think, look, what am I doing? You know, like, am I joining a convert? Like, am I trying to be Jesus? You know, no, that's not what I wanted to do. So, you know, I've spent time, I'm still reading, learning, I'm still doing readings for people. I've been getting a lot of emails from everybody, and I'm so grateful for that people have been patient, even though I haven't been uploading. But I haven't been, you know, just doing nothing. I've been reading, I've been learning, I've been doing new skills, you know, it's all been going on. I've been sorting out my music because obviously some of you might know, some of you might not, but I am actually a musician. I'm a songwriter, a singer, an artist, whatever you want to call it. And I actually retired from the music industry about 2 years ago. I just had a release come out a few weeks ago, even though I recorded that before, but I feel like music gives me so much joy and passion that it's not something that I do want to actually retire from. So I've been finding ways of where I can do it and still be in control, you know, and still getting joy from it, because inevitably, you know, that's what we're all trying to do. That's what I'm trying to create. So yeah, I've just been taking time, enjoying life, you know, so I can share my experiences as well, you know, because life gives us tests all the time. So, you know, I'm going to be doing a series of videos on what has actually been happening to me over the past 2 years, why I decided to do readings, why I am on this path that I'm on, my journey and stuff like that. But this video today is about my Alice in Wonderland follow. It's my Alice in Wonderland follow-up, and it's about Biddulph Grange, the history about Biddulph Grange. I actually haven't managed to go to Biddulph Grange because a lot has been going on. I have been travelling, but I just haven't been to Stoke-on-Trent, unfortunately. I was hoping to get down there before the end of the summer, but that just didn't happen because I went camping the whole of the 6 weeks holidays. Well, practically, I think I had a few weeks in between where I didn't. So yeah, I've just been living life, grinding. I've been clearing my energy, grounding my energy, and protecting my energy as well. And again, I'm going to be doing videos on that, on how I've been doing that, how I continue to do it, and you know, what my advice is for people going forward, for people that was like I was, you know, don't know what to do. Am I living my life right? Is this the way to live spiritually? Because then, you know, you're doubting every single move that you do, and that's not living, you know, that's not how you're supposed to live. So any help and advice that I can give, you know, I'm willing to do that. And hopefully it gives someone some guidance and some help to get out of whatever, you know, circle or situation that you're stuck in. So back to Biddulph Grange. I've been doing a lot of research, and I've put together a little video basically on how Biddulph Grange became Biddulph Grange and what the land was before. And basically it was just like ancient, it was like sheep land before you know, before it became anything. And it goes all the way back to like pre-Viking times. You know, I've put it all in the video anyway. But it was fascinating because there's always been a mad energy on that land, and it definitely has got something to do with the lay of the land, 100%. But the more and more that I dig into Biddulph Grange, the more and more I get lost, because it just sends you down so many different paths that end nowhere, you know. And to me, that is a big red flag, because it's like, okay, why? Again, nothing, no information, just literally it just ends, you know, the trail ends. No matter what person you're trying to find that has got anything to do with it, it just ends. Or it's like some made up story, you know, that you can't find anything else to back it up. So I've put together what I can. I will have to do another video to follow up, because there's things that I found out whilst doing this Biddulph Grange video that I feel need to be looked into more. But I've also found out recently, since doing this video, that the ape, the Thoth god ape statue that's in Biddulph Grange, was put there because it is the ancient Egyptian god of botany. Now, if you know about Biddulph Grange, you'll know about the vast gardens that James Bateman built, and apparently it was put there to signify that. But again, okay, that makes sense. But why? You know, where's their link to say that they've been to Egypt? Where's their link to show that they was into Egyptology? There's nothing, you know, nothing at all. Maria, which is James' wife, which you'll see in the video, she just died suddenly of an illness. The illness isn't documented, and they was like 70 years old or 80 years old when they vacated the property that they'd spent years building and doing these gardens that they loved. And they moved, and then a year later she dies. You know, I just find it fascinating. And also you'll find in the video, Mary Heath, her father only bought Biddulph Grange, like he only owned it for 1 year before Mary Heath suddenly turned up dead. Now I think that's just, is that just a coincidence? So I think, you know, I'm gonna have to do another video, so that's like video three, because Mary Heath was part of a secret cult, and you can Google this yourself, you don't need to take my word for it. It was called the Order of the Meonaya. Now, Graham Phillips, again, I've got a lot of my research of him, because wow, he literally gave me little breadcrumbs and I've just gone off. But check him out, check his YouTube, I'll link his YouTube. He's like a supernatural, he's not just supernatural, he's like a historian, but into the things that you won't find in, you know, mainstream. So it's really, really good. And he's local as well. It's like from Wolverhampton. So yeah, definitely check him out, because he's like written books upon all this. There's tons of stuff linked to this Mary Heath fiasco, Alice in Wonderland. But then there's the green stone and the sword and stuff like that. If you check Graham out, you'll see what I'm on about. But I hope you enjoyed this video anyway, and let me know your thoughts, please, because there is a lot. It is a lot to take in. There's a lot of things that happened. There's a lot of families involved. There's a lot of properties. And again, each one of these properties, there's mad things going on. You know what I mean? Like, was it Hinkleton Hall? I think it was Hinkleton Hall, where there's the little girl in the mirror and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the knock on the wall at Biddulph Grange, again, that was in my last video. I think I linked the video to that. But you can see that again, and that's why I want to go there and check it out for myself, because you can't fool me, you know what I mean? And I'll know. Just from, well, anyway, I think I don't know, but hopefully I'll know. I want to take some dowsing rods as well and see what the energy's saying there, so see if there's any vortexes or anything there. So it is fascinating, and like I say, the more and more that I go into it, the more and more I'll go out of it, you know, it puts me somewhere else. And what's interesting is the pictures as well. Like, if you've read Alice in Wonderland, not even if you've read it, if you've watched Disney's interpretation as well, Disney was in on it, because it's just like the pictures that I'll show in the video. You know, you can see where Lewis Carroll got the inspiration from the doors. You know, wow, it's just like looking inside the book. it's fascinating to me, and I can't be the only person that thinks this, because all the evidence is there. Even Graham thinks it as well, you know what I mean? And he's like, you know, he's been to university and stuff like that. He's not an idiot, he's not a stupid man. So there is something there. It just takes, you know, we just got to keep digging and digging and digging, and I'm willing to do that because I feel very passionate about this. I don't know why, I don't know, I just feel like we can get to it, and I want to know. So I hope you enjoy this video. Please let me know in the comments your thoughts. If you've been to Biddulph Grange, let me know what you felt about the energy there. What's your view on the Egyptian garden and all the gardens from all around the world? Do you know what I mean? Because also, why would they have a garden for Egypt when Egypt hasn't got no grass? You know, it's just desert and sand. So, you know, where's the garden? I mean, yeah, there's palm trees. There's a lot of palm trees and like shrubbery, you know, in some places, but it's not really known for being a botanical place. It's known for being a sand desert type place. So that stuck out to me as well. But again, like I say, there's just loads into it. And when you look into the Batemans and the family and stuff like that, it's just, you could go on and on and on. And I have spent hours looking into all this, so much so that I've got lost in all of the research, because it's just too much for one person to do. So I hope this sparks something for one of my viewers, and you know, you can join on this journey with me as well, because I'd love that. You know, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, and yeah, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because I'm trying to build up this channel. I've got a lot of things coming. I've been reading a lot of books, and I'm looking on doing like a book review. So if that's something that, you know, you'd like to see me do, if you can stand to hear my voice. But basically it's just going to be, I'm going to be looking at books because I love music. So a lot of music or autobiographies, and I'm going to be doing them in parts. So, you know, you can either read along or you can just listen to the video, and then at the end of it, you know, we can have an interactive, you know, like an interactive thing where we can answer questions or whatever else, or just review the whole book. But that's something that I am going to be doing. I've already started off with 4 books. All I'm going to say is the first one is Grandmaster Flash. So there we go. I'm going to leave you with that. Sending you lots of love, lots of light. Take care. The Anglo-Saxons settled in the valley around the year 650. They found coal and nodules of iron here. The Anglo-Saxons were Christians and built and worshipped in the church on the site of the parish church of St. Lawrence. It was probably a small thatched building at that time, and is thought to be destroyed by the Vikings around the year 900. The Vikings certainly visited here, giving Knipersley and Gillow Heath their names. Knipersley, Rocky Meadows, and Gillow's Heath is Gill's Hill Heath. Viking raids were followed by the Norman invasion. The Norman king, William the Conqueror, organised a network of castles around the country, and a wooden building was created in the Biddulph Valley. In 1967, the site of the moat and Bailey Castle was excavated, and among other evidence of the use of the 12th century pottery was found. The site of the castle can be seen at the north end of the town, opposite the junction of Fold Lane with Congleton Road. There is no sign of any building. The mound or motte is all that remains. William the Conqueror gave land to people who helped him. The Biddulph Valley was given to Griffin, and eventually divided into 4 manors, owned by the lords who were the great-grandchildren of Griffin. The manors were Knipersley, owned by Alwyd, who adopted the title of de Knipersley. The Biddulph Park area was called Overton, and owned by Edward de Overton. Thomas inherited the land near the church and became known as de Biddulph. Robert was given Lower Biddulph, which is where Gillow Heath is now, though later the owner of this manor was the de Verdon family. Okay, so it's Gillow Heath now, but later the owner of the manor held the title of the de Verdon family, which I've never heard of any of these people before. I think I've heard of Overton before, but I've not heard of de Verdon family. Okay, a local legend says that the boy's grandfather, Richard the Forester, went off in the fight in the Crusade of 1089. and he returned with Saracen slaves. Skilled stonemasons, they became involved in a number of building projects in the country. They took up residence at Greenway, known now as Biddulph Moor. They carved stones in the churchyard of St Lawrence, where believed by many to be their work, but they have been dated as being have made 300 years before the Crusades. A church has stood place for over 1,000 years. After its destruction by the Danes around 900, it was rebuilt in stone in the 12th century. This belfry tower is all that remains of the time. Its oldest possession is the Norman font. In the 13th century, much of the land around Biddulph came under the control of the monastery at Abbey Halton. Sheep were grazed here, and many places owe their names to that time. Sheep farms were called granges, which is how Biddulph now has a house named Biddulph Grange. Fold Lane, mentioned earlier, reflects the practice of bringing the sheep down off the hills in the winter for shelter in a fold, and the Butter Cross, or Shepherd's Cross, after the farmer on whose land it stood, was probably used as a meeting or marketplace in the Middle Ages. It may have also been a gathering place for worshippers. See, so this land actually goes back, you know, when they're talking like 900 and 300 and stuff like that, you know, it's ancient land. And I always find that when I do like deep dives on places where a lot of stuff's happened, they are old, like ancient landscapes. And that to me, it's just energy, you know. It could be imprinted in the land or something, I don't know, but it's just very, very peculiar. So in 1548, during the reign of Henry VIII, the Biddulph family built a new home. Later, in 1589, during the reign of Henry's daughter Elizabeth I, 2 towers were added. Although castle-like, it was never intended to be defended, but to be a smart new addition to the hall. However, during the Civil War, the royalist Francis Biddulph, his family and its Brereton cousins were attacked by Cromwell's troops, first by muskets from Congleton Edge and later by cannon, the Roaring Meg, from the area by the church, where they caused much damage to the stained glass windows. Still unable to persuade the family to surrender, the soldiers moved to the higher land to the east of the hall, where continuous firing and a hit which shook the walls caused the family to surrender. The family were driven from the hall and imprisoned in Stafford and Shrewsbury. After the restoration of the monarchy, Francis Biddulph was one of the 16 men in England to be awarded the Royal Oak Knighthood by Charles II. The hall still remained a ruin. Francis's family was also almost wiped out by the plague. He himself survived to die in 1668. He is buried in St Lawrence Churchyard, which is the same churchyard as Mary Heath and her father, a brother and a mother. Now, if you've watched my video about Alice in Wonderland, which is why I'm doing this part 2 video, you know, that's really why I'm doing all these videos, to see what happened to Mary Heath. Why was she glorified? Like, when she died, when we don't know what she did. There's no record of her doing anything. Nobody knows how she died. And also looking into this, there's more questions about Biddulph Grange and also Hinkleton Hall, because that place is just in ruins. Like, it's ever since like the main, I think it's Charles Wood, ever since he died, it's just been left in ruins. And it was around the same time. Well, it was about 20 years since Mary Heath and the writer of Alice in Wonderland was there. So it just amazes me that it was never in its glory after that time. It's just really, really strange. And also looking at the pictures of inside that place which I shared before, it's just, you'd think it was, you know, a setting for Alice in Wonderland after reading the book and seeing the illustrations and stuff like that. So it's just interesting how it all comes together. So yeah, but going back to this, I'm going to talk a bit about the plague now, because there are several places in the valley that are related to the fear of plagues. So again, like superstition attached to the place, the Red Cross in Knipesley Churchyard, the Weeping Cross at St Lawrence. This was discovered buried at Gillow Heath and was repositioned at the church a little over 100 years ago. The cross probably relates to the Black Death of 1347 to 49, when half the population of the country was wiped out. To avoid the enclosed spaces of the church where infection would spread, these churches were used as gathering places for the clergy to preach to the people. Now, I find this absolutely fascinating. Like, well, not fascinating, but it's just like, wow, okay, so they've been using vinegar like since that time. Okay, the troughs opposite the Buttercross in Grange Road and Marsh Green Road were placed there to hold vinegar, which acted as a disinfectant, into which coins to pay for food were placed by plague victims. So even back then, people was thinking about transference, like with money and stuff like that. Like even when money wasn't even, well, not everybody had access to money, but it's just it's incredible that they made that link. You know, as I've always said, we've always had the same brain capacity. You know, nobody was stupid back then. If anything, we used our brains more because we live lazy now. Everything's done for us. Back then, we had to think on our feet. We had, you know, especially if you didn't have money, you had to use your brain to live. So that is a perfect example. You know, using your brain to stop the cross contaminations. For that, it's amazing. I love that. Like, I would feel comfortable with that. I'd cover myself in vinegar. I practically do anyway. I'll use vinegar for everything. So a plague victim who had a miraculous escape from death was Gorton, and he was a servant at Knipersley Hall when he became ill, and he was forced to leave the hall, and he went to live in a cave near Knipersley Pool. Now, he bathed in that each day in a spring now known as Gorton's Well. He drank fresh water every day, and he miraculously recovered. Gorton stayed at Knipersley Pool, living as a hermit until he died several years later. So, do you reckon, like, he prolonged? They say he made a miraculous recovery, but or did he just prolong his death? You know, because he was cleansing, so it was like he watered it down almost. You know what I mean? Because I thought there was no coming back from the plague. You know, especially not with water, because obviously everybody would be doing that. So I don't know. There's obviously more to that, but I thought that was fascinating, so I thought I'd put that in there. Now, at the time when the Biddulph family was building the hall, others were manufacturing glass in a factory near to Lee Forge, between the site of the castle and the hall. Many pieces of Tudor glass were excavated from the site by Biddulph History Society in the 1960s. Other homes were built too. Some were of stone, but some were made of other local materials: wood, wattle, and daub. One such home still stands, in more or less its original form: the White House. A private dwelling is off Aikesmore Lane in Gillow Heath and can be best seen without disturbing its owners from the Biddulph Valley Way. Another notable landowner in the 1600s was Sir William Boyer, MP for Staffordshire, who lived in Knipersley Hall, now demolished. This Knipersley Hall, I have actually looked into this, right, and it has been demolished. There's nothing left of it. You know, all Biddulph Grange took over that place, so I would include pictures of it, but there isn't anything. I think I could find one of before it was demolished, and that's it. So just to put that in there. So he lived at Knipersley Hall, which obviously it's now demolished, as I said. He, with his family, donated money for the stained glass windows which were damaged during the siege of the Biddulph Old Hall. The pieces were saved and now form part of the east window. Sir William was not a royalist. He actively supported Cromwell during the war, but saw the error of his ways just in time to welcome Charles II back to the throne. Yeah, of course he did. His death occurred in 1640, where he was buried in the Church of St. Lawrence. Again, this church it's like this church keeps coming into everything I do. There are 4 bodies in the tomb, the last having been placed there in 1666. Now, if you watch my last video, you will know how important that number is, 1666. A lot of things happened in 1666. A lot of things went down. It's a very important date. So, you know, let me know in the comments if that date resonates with you and for what reason, because everybody knows something that happened in 1666. It's just like, it's one of those years. And strange supernatural things seem to happen a lot. Okay, so the tomb is decorated with 20 shields. Okay, and there is a wall of brass showing Sir William, his wife Anne, and his 15 children, 8 sons and 7 daughters. Okay? Now, I've shown pictures of this church in my last video about this subject. I showed pictures of Mary Heath's grave, and because obviously it's in the church, and you've seen everybody else from the area, as I said, or the local important people, and they was amongst those. So you can go back to my video or just do a YouTube search and you'll be able to see for yourself. That's what I mean. There's nothing written about Mary Heath, so why did she get a grave and an honouring more better than those, when they've got titles and, you know, reasons to why they're being celebrated and stuff like that. It's just something that really intrigues me. 1745 saw the Scots soldiers heading through the Biddulph Valley to join Bonnie Prince Charlie, their leader in Derby. The Jacobite rebellion, as it was called, failed, and the retreating soldiers retraced their route across the last edge. A drummer who wandered away from his companions was shot at a good distance, probably about 100 yards, by an English infantryman. The hill where the death took place is known as Drummer's Knob or Cobb, and both of those words mean hill, just to clear that up. 1810 brought the first move, which was to change the life and appearance of the Biddulph Valley forever. Now, this is where we're getting to now for our story. The coal-rich Knipersley estate, owned at that time by Sir Nigel Greasley, was bought by James Bateman, grandfather to the more famous gardening expert James, son John. There's loads of Johns and James. I look back through their family history and it's like James, son of John, John, son of James. It's like they all name their sons after their dads. So it's very, very, very confusing. Okay. Now, they moved to Manchester from Knipersley in order to keep an eye on the father's business interests in the area and began a programme of improvements to the hall and its grounds. Okay. So this is it. The lake had been expanded earlier to the service that nearby canal work, but now the family added glass houses in which to grow orchids, for which they grew famous. An ornamental tower, the Warden's Tower, was built on the banks of the lake to help keep guard the herd of deer introduced into the park and the numerous ducks on the lake from the poachers. A bridge was built across the extended lake, and later a carriageway from Biddulph Grange to Knipersley Estate. Okay, so basically it just was one big grand estate full of flowers, just, you know, a tropical paradise basically. So John Bateman had the Church of St John the Evangelist at Knipersley built, so that was all done, and also the parsonage opposite and a school. Now the church wall on the corner of the crossroads. Local materials and labour were used at the pulpit of St John's, and the pulpit of St John's is made from one piece of milestone grit from Biddulph Moor. Now there is some pictures which I'll try and include here that show where they got the stones from, which fascinated me, because if you've watched my channel, you know that I love megalithic stones and ancient structures and stuff like that. So I was really, really surprised to come across this. So the forge which stood adjacent to the church was unfortunately demolished in the 1960s. So, you know, nobody's getting anything out of that anymore. The lime trees which border the main road planted by the Batemans were, however, saved from a similar fate by the efforts of local people, and in particular the staff and children of Knipersley First School, who designed an alternative road widening scheme that originally was intended, but obviously it just never got done. So James Bateman, the younger son of John, moved to the vicarage of St Lawrence, which is the church, and began to expand and develop both the house and grounds, together with a gifted artist called Edward Cook. He built the magnificent gardens we can enjoy now, which I intend to go myself, because they've been wonderfully restored, and they got restored by the National Trust, who opened the gardens to the public after years of neglect in 1991. So the areas around the ground were marshy waste. The ground was drained, lakes, pools and streams were created, trees planted, and areas designed to provide the perfect growing place for rare and exotic plants brought into this country on the instructions of James Bateman and VQ Gardens, with whom both Edward and John worked closely. okay? So basically there was like a ground force team going on now, getting this garden how they visioned, because they moved from, as I said, from Knipersley, and I've looked around there and they did have extensive gardens as well. So it's like they didn't come there because, you know, and they started that. They was just like green fingers, you know, they just loved doing gardens and excavations and stuff like that. Wanted the best flowers that nobody had seen, you know. And I'm going to attach pictures of the maze in Biddulph Grange. Like, you just, it's unbelievable, because it's below, it's like it's below ground and the hedges are above you. So again, it's like the Alice in Wonderland feel. It's just fascinating. It really is. So local stone brought by the tramways from Biddulph Moor was used to create a totally new landscape: tunnels, glens, and secret gardens. Okay, so this is what James Bateman and Edward Cook did, right, back in 1860, whatever it was. Now, the Bateman, so I think they were there for about 30 years, okay? So it was like 1852 to like 1872 or something like that, or 1840 something. When the Batemans moved south for Maria's health, the Grange was bought in 1872 by Robert Heath. Now, this is Mary Heath's father, okay? 1872. Now, Mary Heath died, apparently, in 1871. So her father, they was only there for 1 year before she was reported dead. And they don't know why she died. And also she had such a glorified burial and tombstone and everything. And we don't know why. Now, interestingly, the house was badly damaged by fire in 1895. And later, in 1903, the Boating Lakes was created both to provide water to fight fire if necessary and to create a hydroelectric power system to provide energy for the estate. Now, this was lost for many years and rediscovered in 2000. So this is just gets more and more interesting. How was the fire created? Now, I looked into this, and apparently a big ball of lightning just come down and struck. Okay, it was this big ball of light in the sky, according to the staff at the house, and just struck and obviously set the house on fire. I just, you know, I cannot believe that that would happen and set the whole house on fire. That's just amazing to me. Now, the house was converted into a hospital in 1923 and used during the Second World War to treat officers wounded during the D-Day landings of 1944. Okay, so I looked into this being a hospital, and Princess Margaret actually visited there a few occasions. She did a lot of work there. It was a children's paediatric hospital. And also, around the area, there's a lot of names with child in them, or kid, you know, which, again, was fascinating to me because it's just mad how it all ties in. So there's a few points to this that I'm going to speak about, you know, in my other video, but I just wanted to get this information out there. So, you know, it gives you a bit of background on Biddulph Grange, how it was actually created, the gardens was created, the tunnels was created. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, James Bateman and Maria Bateman stayed in this house and built this house and beautiful garden that they both loved for 30 years, okay? She got sick. Nobody knows what this illness is, okay? And they had to leave the house that they loved, that they cherished, that they spent so hard working on. And then Mary Heath moves there with her father and everything, and they're there for 1 year, and then she dies. And I need explanations for all this. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, you know, that's a bit of information about the house. I'm going to leave that there for now. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much.